Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day three of the fifth annual Youth Climate Summit. I'm your host, Leah Jeremy, and we are thrilled that you have been here for the last 3 days of virtual sessions packed with inspiring speakers, global youth activists, and climate experts. Throughout the summit, we have dove into the biggest climate topics of this summit: conservation, sustainability, and climate justice. For everyone who is attending BUEI on Friday, start brainstorming on these topics. Think about the kind of climate project that you might want to create within one of these three areas, because today you will get to pick the track that you want to pursue. So let your ideas grow as today's sessions unfold. Before we move on, I would just like to prompt everybody to rename yourself by clicking in the upper right-hand corner of your section and clicking the button that says rename, renaming yourself to your first initial, your last name, as well as the school that you attend. So thank you for doing that. As a reminder, we are going to be doing track selection at the end of today, so please consider whether you would like to engage further with conservation, sustainability, or climate justice, as well as the alumni track for those who have pre-registered for the session as alumni. This is a disclaimer that if you have not pre-registered for the YCS sessions as an alumni, you cannot pick this track when you are registering at the end of today's session. I would also like to talk more about our Saturday action project for this year, which is Trees for Scores. In collaboration with Lisanne Matunke's internationally successful Trees for Goals moment, Trees for Scores is the official Year 5 community action project of the Youth Climate Summit, connecting Bermuda's beloved sporting culture with meaningful environmental stewardship. The locations are Spittle Pond in Smiths from 8 a.m. to 10:15, Sherwin Nature Reserve in Warwick from 11:30 to 2 p.m., and High Point Nature Reserve in Southampton from 3 p.m. to 5:30. You will need to wear comfortable shoes, and loose clothing is a must, as we will be conducting this event rain or shine, no matter what. I would just like to get the ball rolling today with our first Menti poll of the day, which is being placed into the chat. Just a reminder that this Menti poll, we will be going back to the mode of the first day, where the link being posted into the chat now is the link that you will use for the entirety of today's session. So please click on that link and keep that tab open. And our first question today is, in a word or two, what climate issue matters the most to you? I am seeing people saying global warming and turtles. I know turtles was a very big hit yesterday, so I'm glad to see that something stayed on your mind from the former sessions and you're carrying it into the rest of the sessions that we are developing for this week. Coral bleaching and global warming, of course, those are really big ones. I love to see that there's a lot of global warming, coral bleaching, again, the turtles, and pollution, as well as climate change, which is the focus of this entire summit. I'm loving to see that a lot of answers are coming in, that you guys are really thinking about what is affecting the climate and that it matters the most to you. And then our second question is, how confident are you that you can make a difference in this issue? Just give a little time for those answers to start coming in. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people saying somewhat confident. I'm loving that most people aren't saying that they're not confident at all. For those people who aren't confident at all, I really do hope that by the end of this week that you will become more confident, because we all can make a difference in the climate issue. Just by knowing what climate issue matters the most to you, that is a way for you to begin brainstorming on how you can make a difference. And I hope that you are recognizing that you can make a difference, no matter what. So thank you so much for engaging in our first Menti poll of the day. Just want to take us back to our first two sessions. I have mentioned that there were a few overseas participants who have been joining our sessions over the past few days. And I would just like to introduce a short video explaining who they are. So I would just like to cue our UNDP video for today.
Every youth is born to be great. born to contribute to the best of ourselves to the development of our nation. It's the foundation on which we build Ready, Set, Great, an annual youth conference planned, led, and inspired by young people.
Hosted by the United Nations Development Programme Multi-Country Office in Jamaica.
We spotlight and address the greatest challenges facing youth, motivate and inspire young people to become the greatest version of ourselves in service to country, community, and world.
We believe every young person is born to be great in our field of choice, must receive adequate support to tap into our talents and dreams, must co-lead interventions designed for young people. This is the kind of support that helps you get ready set to step into greatness.
We participate in advocacy meetups to finalize our call to action on youth development issues like the environment, health and education, entrepreneurship, and citizen security. Participate in masterclass to learn from top experts, which our team project in the development challenge, or watch and vote for our favorite team.
Browse and Expo offering us resources on grants, careers, business, and wellness. Ready, Set, Great is our way of preparing for the future. A challenging future, but one we must get ready to lead. Listen out for future events. Join our movement. Together, we can advance the sustainable development goals and shape a future where people and planet coexist. Ready, set, great.
Hey, I hope that watching that video was as exciting as to you as it was to me, hearing from international youth activists, international people from the UNDP in Jamaica, people that are tuning in from Jamaica and the Bahamas here today to just listen to the presentation and bring in insights from all over the world to speak to you today. And I am so excited that we have two people from the UNDP who are going to be here speaking to you today, Justin Wallace and Shari Webb. So Justin will be presenting first. He has 4 minutes to present. I will chime in when there's a minute left on his presentation, and then Shari will present, and then we will move to a joint Q&A for both of them. So please leave your questions in the chat as Justin is talking. I just want to highlight that it's very important for us to hear from both of them, especially with them facing the catastrophic disaster that was Hurricane Melissa. So keep your eyes open as they have been experiencing the different catastrophic impacts that come with climate change. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Justin Wallace to take the stage.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my name is Justin Wallace, and today I'm going to speak about my climate action and youth leadership journey. So, so I am Justin Wallace. It's a brief introduction of who I am. So my climate journey began in grade 11, where I was motivated by my agricultural science teacher who taught me CSEC agricultural science. I was the most outstanding CSEC agricultural science student, and that had desired me and helped me to become passionate about impact climate change and agricultural sector. So what I did was I led recycling projects within my school where I attended, which was Edith Dalton James High School in Kingston, Jamaica, and I also led tree planting projects. So unfortunately, I didn't document that journey. So the aim of that was to create youth participation and raise awareness about recycling programs and importance of tree planting initiative within schools. So climate change affect Jamaica in various ways. So um as a result of climate change, Jamaica experienced flooding. It also affects our marine life and seafood, which can impact our global nation, such as food insecurity and agricultural loss, not being able to provide a lot of food for people within Jamaica. Um, Recently, Jamaica experienced a Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, which had winds of 175 kilometers. And due to the significant impact of Hurricane Melissa, this resulted in a lot of issues. So, and some of the issues are looting, which due to the lack of food and flooding within the western side of Jamaica, which comprise of parishes such as Westmoreland, Montego Bay, Chilani, um, St. Elizabeth, and etc. So due to the lack of food, persons were not able to get access to food. So this resulted in personal looting, getting food from supermarkets, small businesses, and this also resulted in a lot of communities becoming flooded. So as you can see on the screen, many persons community are still marooned. So what happened? They had to relocate to from their community to another in order to live comfortable. And also Jamaica is a small island developing state, which means that we are vulnerable to natural disaster like what happened recently, Hurricane Melissa, because of our geographical location and where we reside within the Caribbean. So because of my climate journey through grade 11 and above, I decided that I cannot sit back and watch my beautiful highland Jamaica become torn apart because of climate change. So I volunteered and participate in international coastal cleanup annually to help create a cleaner environment. I also mobilized students from my school, which I attended, which is Calabar High School, a part of my key club, where we went to Kingston Harbor. We clean up plastic trash off the beach shore to ensure that and promote environmental stewardship within Jamaica. I also participated in other initiatives such as tree plantings and actual beach cleanup, as you can see displayed on the screen.
Justin, I'd just like to let you know that there's 1 minute before we move to Shari's presentation.
Okay, so I also led tree planting initiative and within my home and within my community. Advocacy and raising awareness. So I decided to start advocating on youth participation in climate change initiative and projects and raising awareness about the crucial role youth play within climate change. What can you do as a youth? Climate change is important, and we want to create a future where animals, people, and planet coexist, ensuring that we live within a safe, cohesive, and just society. It matters because it affects everyone and all of us, and so therefore we must mobilize and come together in order to create solutions and policies that will solve this issue. So my word to you is rise up, take action, and be the sparks that ignite change. Know your power. We are the future leaders of this world. We are the future change makers, and so therefore, change begin with us, and it means that we should start from now. So I'm imploring everyone to become a part of the climate change journey, and where we can see a greener world and a greener society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin, for your presentation. I would just like to let you know we're calling you back shortly, right after Shari's presentation for a short Q&A. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shari Webb to present her thoughts.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm Shari, and today I will be talking to you about being an environmental champion, and not a superhero with a cape, but someone who chooses to protect or only home the earth. Now, before I do so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am 22 years old. I recently graduated from UW Mona with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing and Business Management. However, within the environmental space, my focus is conservation and sustainability, which has led me to develop a burning passion for environmental activism and advocacy at the Love Across Jamaica Foundation. Now, within the environmental space, I've led several initiatives like beach cleanups, tree planting initiatives, and bottle cap murals, but today I'd like to speak to you about climate change. And being an environmental champion matters because we cannot wait for someone else to do something. We have to be that change. And so we can't speak up well, which is why we are the generation with the creativity, the energy, and the drive to push for a change. Now, we can't speak about climate change and not talk about what happened to Jamaica. So, what happened to Jamaica? Well, late last month, October, Jamaica experienced Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, which brought rain and winds like never before. Communities were destroyed, homes damaged, roads upheaved. And speaking as someone who has gone down to see the devastation themselves, it is literally something that looks like an apocalypse. Persons' homes were destroyed, persons are on the road asking for help. It's really a terrible situation. But the hurricane's biggest impact wasn't our building and our infrastructure, but rather our people. So several persons have lost their lives, families have been displaced, we have several youth who have been missing school, and even almost a month later, we still have several communities without water and electricity. Now, I've been privileged to collaborate with different organizations, and I've been able to go down and distribute food items, building materials, get a better idea of what persons need. And even through TikTok, we've had the opportunity to see just how bad the devastation is and how much we can help our persons there, which is why your ideas as a young person matters. As young people, we don't see the impossible. We see rather, let us try. So whether you're into science and technology, art, policy, TikTok activism, or just planning projects, you have a place in this movement. But you might say, Shari, how can I be an environmental champion? Well, you all have the opportunity to do so. And you can do so through 3 different ways. So through prevention, like tree planting initiatives, protecting our coastlines, reducing our waste, because prevention is cheaper and kinder than recovery. Also, preparation. We need stronger buildings, better warning systems, better evacuation plans. So when we are struck with the effects of climate change, we're ready and rebuilding together. Unfortunately, we cannot prevent some of the effects of climate change, but it's important for us as young people, when we are struck with these events, we come together to think about innovative and sustainable ways that we can help our people rebuild and prevent these things within the future.
Shari, I just want to let you know that we have 1 minute before we move into Q&A.
No problem. Thank you. When young people stand up for the planet, we don't just change the conversation, we change the future, which is why you can be an environmental champion today, starting wherever you are with whatever resources you have. You just have to have the drive and the decision to choose our environment and choose to be a champion for change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, just want to invite you and Justin back for a little Q&A section. I do see quite a bit of questions in the chat for you guys to answer. So I'll just wait for your screens to come down before we begin.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Starting off strong, why did you choose to stick with being an environmentalist? And I'll give that one to Justin.
Okay, so as you all know, I have an organization which I serve as a founder and executive director, which is mainly male focused, because I decided that to diverse and focus on environmental, because I realized that the environmental play a crucial role within Jamaica and the Caribbean, and by extension. And because humans and we students, youths live within the environment, it is important that we take charge and contribute to the environment within a meaningful way. So I decided that I cannot sit back and watch the environment become damaged and destroyed by persons who don't understand the importance of protecting the environment. So I decided that I need to make a change, and so I stepped up, take action, and inspire others around me to also do the same.
Thank you so much. For Shari, what projects or ideas do you think young people can do to become environmental champions?
Well, there are a lot because I do understand that as young people, we might not have like a lot of money to do certain things, but it really starts with small things. So as you mentioned earlier, Leah Jeremy, you can do tree planting initiatives, or you can have recycling drives in your school to help reduce waste, or even come together with your friends and decide that you're not going to use single-use plastics, and you encourage other persons to do that. So you can do beach cleanups, you can recycle, you can plant trees, and those are some very easy and not expensive ways that you can start your environmental journey and embark on different environmental projects.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And this could be a question for either of you. How can we get involved with the UNDP?
Okay, I'll take this. I'll just highlight how I became involved with the UNDP. The UNDP, they're always having events, whether it's online or virtual, and they always encourage us as young people to sign up to participate in these events. So you can follow their social media pages. You can take a look at the Ready Set Great Jamaica website, where they always post different opportunities. Because I got this opportunity because I signed up for a conference with the UNDP sometime last year. And so they're always having events that you can attend, and that's how you can become involved with the UNDP.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Justin, last question is for you. How did you decide to focus on this certain part of the environment?
Okay, I decided to focus on tree planting and other parts of the environment because, as mentioned earlier, the environment play a crucial role for us as humans and person who exist within it. And climate change is not the only issue that you can focus on. There are myriad of issues within the Caribbean and within your country. Of social issues like crime and violence, poverty, gender equality, and just to name a few. So I urge you to advocate for those issues and just become a change maker within your own space and start small. Here in Jamaica, we say one cocoa full basket, which basically means that small steps can lead to big efforts and big impact.
Thank you so much again to both of you for coming down here and speaking to us today. I know everyone that is watching was definitely touched by your presentation and has got a lot of insight on how they can get involved with things that seem bigger than themselves. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, I know that I just loved hearing from Justin and Shari and what they are doing internationally in Jamaica to make up for the environment, how they were affected by Hurricane Melissa, and what they are doing to kind of combat the climate issue that we are currently facing right now. I love hearing from global activists. I love hearing from people who are involved with YCS. And so we are going to continue to do so through today's Voices of Impact segment.
Hey YCS, my name's Zara Trott, and today I'll be filming my video update. I am still advocating and making myself known in the climate space, taking opportunities when they present themselves, and just going with the flow. I like to think that people like me that are on this journey with me and come from similar backgrounds and have similar experiences to me, we can make it so that the climate space is more accessible to everyone. It's a really hard industry to break into. I like to think that I inspire people and maybe act as guiding hands, that we're all in it together. And I've recently gotten involved with YLOG, also known as the Young Leaders of Ocean Governance. I've also gotten involved with Greenpeace. I went on 4-day wildlife flag around the Sargasso. We went 250 miles out of sea. I feel like those are the two biggest things that I've done since starting YCS. You can only make so much as a difference as an individual, so make your difference count. With one drop comes a ripple, so make sure your drop is worth it.
Hello friends in Bermuda, how's it going? My name is Bodhi Patil, and I presented at the Youth Climate Summit just a few years ago. I'm in a Master's in Management program here at the University of British Columbia, and I'm going to be graduating in just 2 months and then working on a whole bunch of storytelling initiatives all around the world. Storytelling initiatives are partnered with the Biocultural Stewardship Fund, and this fund is focusing on supporting Indigenous communities really restore their natural capital and culture, develop and support spiritual capital, cultural capital, financial capital, of course. Being a part of BUEI and looking at the journey of young people over the years at COP, at different international congresses, has reminded me about what we all need to collectively harness in terms of power of the ocean in order to build a better future, in order to move money in a better way. So that you have incredible natural capital that demands and needs protection, and that you can be agents of change.
Hello and warm namaste everyone. I am Sumnima Ghimire. I'm from Nepal and currently based in Thailand. So back in 2021, I became the part of Bermuda Youth Climate Summit, where I spoke as a youth activist regarding indigenous knowledge and their use in combating climate crisis. Currently, I'm engaged in research analysis for strengthening the localization of climate frameworks. So I believe these efforts will shape the future by helping policymakers and change makers better understand the existing scenario and making climate policies more grounded, practical, and responsive to local needs. To anyone who feels overwhelmed by climate change, don't worry, because I was also that once. But now I would say that while combating climate change requires holistic and collective efforts, meaningful progress is possible. If we act, and we all act now, we can truly overcome this crisis together. Thank you.
Okay. Wow, that was really great hearing from past YCS alumni, Zara Trott, who presented for you yesterday, as well as people who were involved with the summit a few years back. So I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from that sort of blast from the past kind of individuals who are involved with YCS. And I would now like to introduce our subject matter expert of the day, Kishan Kode. Kishan Kode is the UNDP resident representative for the multi-country office in Jamaica, representing the Bahamas, Belize, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, with over 25 years at UNDP. He has led more than $1 billion in programs advancing poverty reduction, governance reform, climate action, gender equality, and disaster resilience across Asia, the Middle East, and the Caribbean. A scientist and lawyer by training, Mr. Kode's experience spans climate and ecosystem sustainability, constitutional and environmental law, and decolonial approaches to development. Mr. Kode will have 18 minutes to present, and then there will be a 5-minute Q&A section. I will chime in when there is 1 minute left for the presentation. So guys, please put your questions in the chat all throughout his presentation, and we will address them at the end. Mr. Kode, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Leah, and to the organizers. It's really an honor to be with you here today, with all of you, the guardians of our future, and indeed representing the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. So good morning, and it's really an honor to be with you, change makers, dreamers, and indeed, as I said, the guardians of our future. I'm here today. I'm going to just put on my presentation, which I have as well. I'm hoping you can see that. And let me just double check that you can see that. Give me 1 second here, since we do have this presentation. And I will share my screen. Very good. So you should be seeing that.
Yes, we see it.
Excellent. All right. So thanks again, Leah, and good to see you guys, everyone that's in the room. So I'm just gonna speak to you about some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, for youth to get engaged in climate actions with the United Nations and with countries around the region and the world. But also, it's a message that UNDP stands with you. We support the role of youth in climate action. And that's because this moment and this movement of youth in climate action and indeed the planetary crisis and solutions, it all belongs to all of us and belongs to the youth of the future. It belongs to you. Now, as we know, youth in the Caribbean are on the front lines of climate change. I think we just heard from Justin. We just heard from real thought leaders, I can say, from youth from across the Caribbean on this issue. Small island developing states, as we call them, the SIDS, they face rising seas, stronger storms, and economic shocks, as we've seen recently this year with this current hurricane season. And you are all the climate generation. You're refusing to accept business as usual, and you're the generation that knows that the future isn't something that we wait for, it's something that we build together. So what really are the challenges and opportunities on climate change, and what do they have to do with youth? Well, it's no longer a distant threat. It's not a story about the future, a distant future. Climate change is a threat that's already here, and it's very personal, right? It's affecting the lives of youth, but also the entire population. And it's reshaping everything around us, from where we live, what we eat, how we dream about challenges and solutions into the future. And while the truth can feel overwhelming, it's also a call to action, right? And here's the other truth, that you are not powerless, you are powerful. And that's really where youth and climate action comes from and is based. In the next 10 years, your generation will inherit the responsibility of protecting the planet. But here's the good news, you're not alone. So 80% of people globally want their countries to do more on climate change. 72% want a rapid shift towards clean energy, solar solutions, and the like. And 69% say climate change is influencing major life decisions already as you're looking ahead to the future. So you're not just the future, but you're also the present. It's those thought processes, those concerns, those ideas for how to solve this problem today that you're having that are really going to shape the future. So it's about now. Now, youth action in the Caribbean and beyond is rising fast. Young people aged 15 to 29 make up 25% of the population in the region, but you hold just 4% of parliamentary seats. That's not just a gap, it's a challenge, and you're rising to meet it. You're creating your own spaces, launching your own campaigns, demanding justice, and designing solutions that work for your communities. Let's take a look briefly at a great example of how this is taking shape under the Ready, Set, Great Youth Initiative, which you've heard about here in Jamaica.
At the Jamaica Climate Change Youth Council, something that we say is that we are the generation that must live climate change, and also we're the last generation that can make a difference. So what we do is that we try to give young people the skills, so we do training programs, that sort of thing, give them the skills to really be able to do climate action within their own spaces, whether it's their own communities, their own schools, etc. We have done a number of projects. So one of the projects that we just closed out is in St. Thomas. We went into a community called Albion Heights. We put in solar home systems, solar street lamps, a recycling program. So what we're trying to do is really give people solutions that they need for life, but to do it in an environmentally sustainable way. So that's how we try to, bring climate change really home to people when they see the effect on their daily life and small changes that they can make personally to contribute to climate change adaptation and mitigation.
Definitely. So this is an example from our Ready, Set, Great Youth Initiative, which is very much based in Jamaica, but also engaging youth from neighboring countries in the Caribbean as well. So this championing of tree planting, right? One tree planted for everyone that's cut down is part of that youth council project. Advocating for access to agricultural land, green jobs of the future, starting to get involved in that already during youth. promoting youth-led conservation and inclusion of vulnerable groups. So this is one example of how UNDP, or United Nations Development Program, is supporting youth through our country programming at the country level. So we are the largest implementer of grants for climate change. We currently have close to $4 billion US dollars of grants around the world, 140 countries, including, of course, here in Jamaica and other countries of the Caribbean. And a key element of that, of course, to actually achieving transformation at the country level is engaging with youth. So this is a good example of that.
For climate.
So it's definitely about providing small grants. We have what we call the Small Grants Program, supported by one of our donors called the GEF, the Global Environment Facility, which funds many of these environment projects through UNDP and others. And so through that, we've allocated, as you see here, close to $500,000 US dollars of grants to youth projects specifically, right? And we believe really that when youth are mentored and empowered, the results are limitless. I mean, this carries forward the leaders for policymaking, for example, at the country level, leaders in the private sector in terms of innovative solutions to come, especially in climate vulnerable countries like the small island developing states. But we also have on the right side here, what you see is the Youth for Climate Change Initiative, right? Which is a global initiative, 52 countries, 2.5 million US dollars. And that's a global movement empowering young change makers to lead the fight more generally on climate change. And the first call sparked an incredible response. Over 1,000 solutions were submitted for young people in these 120 countries. And by 2023, 50 visionary projects arose from youth in this process across 39 countries. And so this is then a base for then scaling up these projects. So starting off with small grants, initial ideas, engaging this network and dialogue through Youth for Climate, and then scaling it up through broader levels of finance to actually have them make an impact in their societies that they're in. So a new call in 2024 expanded the focus on things like climate change and environmental literacy, on sustainable energy, food and agriculture, nature-based solutions. And this latest round doubled that impact, as I mentioned. So we now have this 2.5 million going specifically to youth for climate action. And that's a really important starting place as we continue to expand into the future on this track. It's not just about funding, it's really about giving youth a voice, bringing them into decision-making, not least, as many of you know, this week, we have the Global Climate Conference called the Climate COP, taking place here in the region, hosted by Brazil. And so that's an example where we bring together youth that are participating in our Youth for Climate initiative into that dialogue process, to give that vision for the future to the decision makers. So the question is, and I'll close soon, how do we get involved, right? How do you get involved as youth? And here you have some of the key ways. You can advocate through these processes with us and more generally, push for policies that protect ecosystems and make sure that youth inclusion is part of that national process and global process. You can act, such as the examples we saw in tree planting campaigns. Recycling initiatives are so important. You can create solutions, right? Green startups. We know that youth are coming up with some innovative, impactful solutions through things like small enterprises, right? Ventures that youth are starting up to convert green skills into sustainable business. You can collaborate with public partners, whether it's UN or government, but also private entities, as well as civil society organizations, NGOs, universities that are all critical. And lastly, you can lead. So you can join committees, campaigns, boards of initiatives and organizations that really are shaping climate policy as we speak. Through this kind of process, we hope that we can support you to expand your footprint, right? Locally, in terms of your role shaping climate action locally in Bermuda and Jamaica and Bahamas, in the countries that we support from our office, but also your global footprint, bringing that voice globally, as UNDP, United Nations, has that global platform, of course, for climate action. So the decisions being made today will shape the world that you're going to inherit tomorrow. And it's really critical therefore, for young people to be present, vocal, and influential in these spaces of global policymaking, regional policymaking. One of the most important spaces, as I mentioned, is the COP. And it's, a gathering of nearly every country on Earth coming together to negotiate hard negotiations, to find solutions, to commit to actions, to address climate action under the Paris Agreement on climate change, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and other global treaties that set the stage for that joint action. World leaders, scientists, activists, and definitely, as I mentioned, young people come every year to the COP to debate these things. And this is where your voice matters. So when you're attending in person at the COPs, joining virtually, organizing locally in your own country to feed into that global dialogue, know this, that you belong in the climate conversation and the world needs to hear from you. Not least Bermuda, as we've heard yesterday and earlier today about the climate risks and opportunities for solutions in Bermuda. So if you're wondering how to take your passion to the next stage, the United Nations is one avenue for that. Through your role, we can jointly achieve, these positive tipping points, right? These campaigns and these actions, as I mentioned. Be a change maker, work with us, bring your creativity and commitment to make a change in the world. And how we do this, just let me get back to the turn. Just a glitch there. How we do this, we have a few options that youth can consider. The first is through internships, right? That are so critical. I'm the head of the UNDP office covering Jamaica, Bermuda, Bahamas, Turks, Cayman, and other countries. But I started off as an intern, right? So when I was in school, like you guys, whether it's secondary or high school, after that, during my bachelor's, master's years, I started an internship, right? Working with UNDP. I went to an ecosystem in a small community in a country, in my case, in Asia Pacific. And I started working with communities, learning what development and sustainable development really means to local communities and what it could look like in terms of solutions. And that led to, as mentioned earlier, 25 years now I've been with UNDP supporting countries around the world on this challenge. So internships are a critical starting point, entry level to the United Nations for those interested. Fellowships are good with whether it's with academic institutions, think tanks, or other entities. Youth can join us as UN volunteers, which is a specific track of entry level to the UN as well, to volunteer, paid volunteers to be on the front lines of climate resilience.
Mr. Kude, I just want to let you know that you have 1 minute before we move to Q&A.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lee. And lastly, we have a junior professional officer program for those that are already into the university stage. That's something where countries support the placement of junior professionals from their country in the United Nations. So there's a few avenues to actually start a career in the United Nations on climate change and sustainability for those interested. What's the best part? These opportunities open youth worldwide, and some are possible to do remotely as well. So, there's a global role or regional, or you can do from Bermuda. And there's options for actually engaging with our work in other countries and globally and becoming a global practitioner. That means wherever you live, you can contribute to the solutions, connect with peers across borders, for example, across the Caribbean, and help shape a more sustainable future. So the UN is not just a place for diplomats. It's a platform for dreamers, doers, and future leaders just like you. And to close, I think a call to action to move to those positive tipping points that I mentioned. Today, we're standing at the crossroads of that positive tipping point with the innovation coming from youth. So advocate for a youth climate declaration, build coalitions across islands, design campaigns that educate and mobilize others, hold leaders accountable, and become leaders yourself. So you're not just the leaders of tomorrow, you're the change makers of today. Your courage, creativity, and commitment can turn the tide of this crisis. Let's rise together to a future that's green, just, and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kode, for presenting for us today. I find it amazing that you actually mentioned the Youth Declaration for Climate, as that is something that we are looking to focus on here at BUI during the on-site sessions. So let's just head into the Q&A if you're ready for that. With our first question being, are there any specific future plans that you have for helping Jamaica out of this tough time?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's been a catastrophic, record-setting climate disaster that was faced less than 3 weeks ago. And unfortunately, these are becoming more frequent and severe. So last year was Hurricane Beryl. There's been other hurricanes in between that hit the Bahamas. That obviously Bermuda got affected as well last year and this year, and other countries in the region. So I mean, what we have is we mobilize grants. So at the moment, just for example, we're launching now $2 million a grant program called the Jamaica Resilient Recovery Initiative, or JARI. And JARI is going to basically do a few things. One is it's going to try to infuse climate resilience into the recovery process. So as you build back buildings, as you build back ecosystems, as you build back agriculture and other sectors, how can you integrate climate resilient measures into that? And that will probably have an important base on youth ideas, youth solutions into that process, because we want to support the government and the people of Jamaica in building that future that's more resilient, that can withstand these kind of crises. So that's one thing. Of course, we're doing under that JARI project, we're also doing some very community-oriented initiatives to help the immediate needs, such as clearing the debris from the hurricane impact, providing solar solutions for critical needs, and rebuilding livelihoods and small businesses, including youth-led businesses that have been impacted. We did some impact site visits into the parishes that were in the center of the storm, and we met many youth entrepreneurs who, I remember meeting one colleague, he was just 17, so he just finished high school, he just started a small business, and wiped out. So even helping recovered youth in that context is really front and center for us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And next question, what are the greatest challenges that you face in achieving your goals?
The greatest challenges, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the greatest challenges of taking, is really achieving transformational change. So, a lot of the work to date has been on helping countries and communities adapt to climate change, helping, infrastructure or key sectors like tourism or agriculture, adapt so that to reduce the risk of and the impacts. But we're getting to a stage, it would seem, where these rate and scale, frequency and severity of climate impacts is beyond that, possibly, breaching what adaptation can handle, what those kind of measures can handle. And so the main challenge going forward now, and something that we're very focused on, of course, is helping to transform development policy, development investments, so that when you're doing a development project, it's done from the get-go in a way that can withstand future. It's about new ideas as well. Transformation is really about new ideas about development. So shifting to, for example, nature-based development pathways beyond the history, let's say globally, of extractive-based development models. So towards nature-based development models, it's about finance. It's about creating new sustainable finance systems, so that finance can play a positive role, and reduce the negative footprint that's sometimes involved with development and finance in creating these vulnerabilities. So there's a lot of challenges, but I think I'll stop with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there are a lot of challenges as you just listed. So what really makes you want to keep this job, makes you want to, find other ways to help the earth? Like, what is your motivation?
Right. Well, it's our friends and family and colleagues at the local level around the world, and helping them out, basically. So making things a bit better, as much as we can. So couple of weeks ago, we were out in a town called New Hope in Western Jamaica. This is where the epicenter of the Hurricane Melissa made landfall at New Hope town. And so we met with some of the community there who were, of course, devastated, traumatized and devastated by this, how the climate emergency looks in this kind of an event. And so their answer was, help us to rebuild in a way where we don't have to face this in the future, a resilient recovery. And so that's the request that we received, and that's what we're gonna, and that can be replicated with millions of people across the Caribbean and small island developing states. So front and center, small island developing states are among the most vulnerable, as the United Nations Secretary General has said. Small island developing states and the Caribbean island states in particular are ground zero for the climate emergency, and so that's what drives us, is to help people like the colleague I mentioned and others in the region.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Code, for presenting for us today, for sharing your insights, sharing your work with UNDP, and answering our questions about how we can make it more personal to us. I know that everyone has taken a lot away from your presentation today, so I would just, like to invite you to stay on and look at what people are taking away from your presentation through today's next Menti poll, which is being placed into the chat. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Code, for coming and presenting for us.
It's a pleasure, and congrats to the organizers, and we look forward to continuing the collaboration with the Youth Climate Summit. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, guys, there is a Menti poll being placed in the chat. It is the same link as the one you had open before, so you can just click on that tab and answer the question, what are you taking away from Dr. Code's presentation? I'm seeing a lot of answers here already. That you can help the environment. You're not powerless, you're powerful. It's very true. It is relatively easy to get involved with the UNDP. I know it is relatively very easy to get involved with a lot of climate action. So I love that you guys are picking that up. It's not always as hard as we assume that it is. We are the last generation to make the difference that we need. That is so true. A lot of the former generations' problems with the climate did get kind of dumped on us. So it is our responsibility to make sure that they do not go past this point, and we're actually getting into the field of reducing it and reversing it. I am seeing we are the deciders of saving our planet from climate change, a lot like what I just mentioned. We can get involved with UN climate action. That's amazing to see that you guys are knowing what you can get involved in, different organizations that you can get involved in internationally as well as locally. I learned that there are some youth supporters who support GEF small grants programs. Very true. Internship opportunities. Yes, there's always a path to get involved with working in climate change, whether it's an internship, whether it's an actual job, whether it's going to study it. You can do anything that you put your mind to. I'm loving seeing that, and that I can help the environment. Okay, I'm loving seeing all of these answers and that you took a lot away from Dr. Code's presentation. Thank you so much for interacting with that last Menti poll. And for a lot of people saying that they can get involved with the UN initiatives and stuff that's happening internationally, just want to let you know that you can also get involved with a lot of the stuff that is happening locally. And hopefully today's NGO videos will show you a list of projects of the things that are happening here in Bermuda that you can get involved with now. That you can learn about more tomorrow from the environmental showcase, where we'll be here on site at BUEI learning from these people. So I would like to roll today's NGO video.
My name is Phoebe Barboza Bellamy, and I am the Research and Operations Manager for WaterStart Bermuda. Currently on Bird Island, a small island in the Great Sound, WaterStart is working on 5 different restoration projects. That focuses on seagrass, mangrove, and shellfish restoration, as well as reforestation and permaculture design. All of these projects are working with the local community to try and increase biodiversity and also try and preserve some of the biodiversity that is so important to Bermuda. We run many volunteer days throughout the year, as well as educational field trips and week-long programs. Students can come and join us on Bird Island to not only take part and get their hands physically in and on all of our projects, but also come out there and learn something and gain worldwide certification. The youth's passion and efforts are powerful forces of change. Each one of your creative ideas and efforts to spread awareness and change people's habits are steps forward in shaping a better future. The challenges we face are great, but so is your ability to create these changes. Keep pushing forward because your efforts will be the foundation of tomorrow's more sustainable planet.
Hi, I'm Dr. Miguel Mejias, and I'm a member of the Bermuda Audubon Society, and we're essentially the oldest environmental organization in Bermuda. We were established in 1954, and our job is basically to either purchase, get donated, or inherit land across Bermuda, turn them into nature reserves, and we essentially do lots of habitat restoration. Previous youth involvement really involves inviting the youth to come out and join us with our tree planting events. So we would normally post something with social media, so Instagram, Facebook, advertising some sort of tree planting event at one of our nature reserves. And yeah, just get the kids excited and interested in Bermuda's nature, biodiversity, and teaching them how to identify certain plants, which ones are endemic or native, and which ones are invasive that need to be removed. And I hope people of this generation, the youth, when they assemble into positions of power someday in the future, I hope they don't forget what they were fighting for when they're younger and use that passion to drive legislation that can help change the world for the better and to slow down the impacts and hopefully one day reverse the negative impacts of climate change.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Noyes.
And I'm Claire Fox.
And we're joining you today from ASU Bermuda Institute of Ocean Sciences. At ASU BIOS, our mission is to share fundamental knowledge of our oceans through state-of-the-art scientific research and comprehensive educational experiences. ASU BIOS is a global leader in understanding our ocean and how to create a healthy planet that's habitable for all. Research here at ASU BIOS has demonstrated critical shifts in our environment, from changing ocean temperatures to deoxygenation to our oceans becoming more acidic. Long-term time series give you the power to be able to distinguish natural variability from man-induced change.
Connected directly with our research are our education programs. Our Climate Classroom, one of our local flagship youth initiatives, immerses students in climate research through collaborative virtual reality and hands-on experiences. We guide students in exploring local climate scenarios, fostering a deeper understanding of how data is collected and how our changing climate affects ocean chemistry, biodiversity, and ecosystem health.
This research has demonstrated critical shifts in Bermuda's marine environment, including acidification, deoxygenation, and warming waters, with implications for Bermuda's marine life and the resilience of coastal communities.
My name is Cheryl Knapp, and I am the Blue Economy Specialist with the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program, a community-driven program to foster the sustainable, profitable, and enjoyable use of our ocean resources. And this is done through the Bermuda Prosperity Plan, which is a two-part program consisting of the Marine Spatial Plan, designed to protect 20% of Bermuda's oceans, remove the pressures from the ecosystem, help to ensure that they can keep delivering ecosystem benefits and remain resilient in climate change. BOPS hosted a series of learnings with scientists who helped to explain the importance of keeping Bermuda's ocean healthy and providing information about the amazing resources that we have right in our backyard. We've also partnered previously with the Youth Climate Summit, and we're really proud to have been part of the YCS student-led social media campaign. Bermuda is a small island nation, but we can have a big impact nonetheless on the solution. Bermuda's waters are much larger than its actual landmass, and if we become good stewards and responsible stewards for the environment, we can all keep enjoying our environment and our ecosystems and the benefits that our waters bring to us for many, many years to come.
My name is Eugene Dean, and I'm the chairman of the board for Green Rock. One of our major initiatives is Earth Hour, and the goal with Earth Hour is to raise awareness of all the loss of nature around the world and encouraging people to care more for nature and the environment and live more sustainable lives. Our goal is to get more people in the environment, working with the environment, because we find that the closer people are to nature, then the more they naturally care and respect for it. At Green Rock, we've always been involved with young people, and I guess one of our standout examples is when we formed Eco Schools, which is a program that's actually now run by BUEI, and that's a program where it incorporates environmental action into the school curriculum and is inspiring young people to be advocates for the environment. And it really takes us just being more in touch and in tune with nature, and because we're part of nature, then that includes being in touch and in tune with ourselves. And the more connected we all are, then the easier we'll find it for us to come up with sustainable solutions to address all the challenges we see. I encourage you to spend more time in the environment and be close with the environment, and be assured that this beautiful environment that we've been blessed with will be there for you and your children to enjoy as well.
Hey, I hope that you guys loved hearing from those NGOs. Again, those are local initiatives that you can get involved in, that you can hear from tomorrow during the environmental showcase, which is here at BUEI. So hopefully you have held some questions for them, that you have some questions for them that you can ask them tomorrow, find out more, find out what you want to get involved in. And now I want to move into introducing one of our youth activists for today, Lily Yang Liu, someone who I am very excited to hear from. So I hope that you are very excited to hear from her as well. Lily will have 8 minutes to present, and then there will be a 5-minute Q&A. So please leave your questions in the chat for her as she is presenting. So Lily, I will pass the stage on to you now.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I can feel so much amazing energy from seeing all the Menti polls and all your questions. And I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit about my path to climate advocacy. I spent a lot of my childhood in hospital beds. I was hooked up to machines because I couldn't breathe. And I grew up between two very different parts of China. There's a city, it's called Beijing, it's the capital city. And when I was growing up in the 2010s, there was a lot of smog. The air was so thick with factory smog that kids like me developed severe asthma. And you can probably see from the slides, one of the photos is me in front of the hospital. And I remember looking out of the window and not being able to see the next building. In the summers, I stayed in a small rural town near Wuhan with my grandmother, and our house was made out of mud and bricks, and our lives really revolved around agriculture. Every single summer, though, it got hotter, and we started waking up at 3 or 4 just to get to work. So before the heat became very unbearable, floods also came very often. They came so often that it wasn't disastrous anymore. It was just normal. And back then, no one said climate change. No one really knew what climate change was. We just called it bad luck. So I didn't have the language for what was happening to me. Things really changed when I moved to Canada. When I was 9, my parents made one of the bravest and hardest decisions to leave everything behind. We left China and we moved to Canada because if we didn't, the doctor told my parents that I would have to go through another round of surgery for my cardiovascular health, and it could be potentially life-threatening. So suddenly, instead of these giant buildings and coal plants, I was surrounded for the first time by oceans and trees. I still really remember the first time I walked through a stand of old-growth trees near my home, and I was able to breathe without coughing. I really like this photo on the left here. It's my dog. His name's Hopi. He's a black lab, and he's the light of my life. But this photo was also taken in the same month I learned the word climate change. This was in 2020, and I learned about climate change in a way a lot of teenagers learn about things now through Google and TikTok. After moving to Canada, I saw this headline about a girl named Greta Thunberg. You can see her on the right, and she was fighting climate change. I didn't know what climate change was, so I Googled it. As I read, I realized how smog in Beijing that put me in the hospitals and floods near my grandmother's village, the raising heat in the fields, none of it was bad luck. It was all human intervention and climate change. I felt two things in that moment: that anger, no one had told me what was happening, and urgency to make sure that other young people didn't grow up living like that. I learned that in schools in British Columbia, which is a very progressive and liberal province in Canada, we didn't have mandatory climate education. And I learned about climate change through social media, through the news, and I call myself a pretty chronically online person. And that's why I turned to social media initially to create change. I launched a channel. It's called Daily Climate News, and I speak mostly in Mandarin. I filmed over 700 short videos talking about climate policy, science, and justice. And I try to do it in a way people can understand. I have grown to about 100,000 followers and 70 million views. And social media gave me a way to translate the complex language of climate into something that everyone can understand. And now I have an excuse for being chronically online. I also started designing climate literacy workshops for elementary schools because we don't talk about climate change at all in elementary school in British Columbia, where I live right now. In grades 3 to 5, we play games like climate tag. We turn Octopus into a climate game, teaching them about the enhanced greenhouse effect. Because climate change, it feels scary, but we have to understand that joy must exist in any revolution. These workshops led me to work closely with the education system in my province, British Columbia. I started collaborating with the Ministry of Education to develop elementary school climate resources and later on, hopefully, an elementary school climate curriculum. But while I was working with them, I was also simultaneously fighting them. I was a part of a broader advocacy group, I still am, that pushes for mandatory climate education. We have a petition that has signatures from over 50,000 people and around 45 schools where we push for climate to be a core part of our education system. From there, my role moved from classrooms more into policy negotiation, which is something I'm focusing a lot on. I was at COP29. You can see the photo in the center in Azerbaijan. And there I negotiated ACE, Action for Climate Empowerment. Now, ACE focuses on education and how climate change is communicated. And it has been stuck for years. ACE did get ratified at COP29, and that was very exciting. But when I left the conference, all I felt was a lot of doom and anxiety because every single day during the 2 week conference were, very important climate legislation, like the Paris Agreement, for example, um, were being negotiated. I saw young people sidelined because there's only one NGO rep allowed into the negotiation rooms. So this means that often in one negotiation track, there would be one person, one young person, and then they would only get to speak for like 3 minutes. And in these spaces, it really showed me how systems are not built for young people, sometimes very literally. When I was appointed as the first person under 18 in the Canadian United Nations delegation in New York, the system didn't know what to do with me. The thing is that the UN doesn't have a badge category for someone who is my age, a minor who is under 18. So for the first 2 days of the 2 week conference, I couldn't get into the building. So while other delegates were doing negotiations and side events, I was stuck outside, constantly on WhatsApp, trying to figure out how I can get in, losing precious time. Even when Canada finally got me a badge, it wasn't the same level of access as the rest of the delegation. I couldn't go to specific floors. It's a very concrete reminder that in many ways, young people are still being seen as exceptions. So out of all of the work I did, one question haunted me. If getting into these spaces were so confusing and lonely for me, leading to burnout, how many brilliant young people are being shut out completely? Because I know I come from a space of deep privilege. So with a friend, I co-founded DMUN. It's an organization dedicated to creating space and training young people at negotiation tables, not just in Model UN. We've had a lot of success in the past 2 years, and we've sent over 40 fully funded delegates to spaces like the UN, World Bank, and COP. And we've supported about 700 young people in directly engaging with the process. And we also help make UN interventions. We made over 40 plus, meaning that their words are now a part of the formal UN record. We also, apart from our training at the United Nations. We also do virtual Model UN conferences that are completely free and reached over 26,000 people. I've
Lily,
shared,
this is just a reminder that we're moving into Q&A in a minute.
okay, sounds great. I'm gonna be finished soon. Thank you. Yeah, I shared a lot about my journey and how I got started with advocacy, but I wanted to talk about you guys for a little bit. So on the screen behind me, you can see a list of organizations that you can get involved in. I hope you guys maybe take a screenshot. There's Youngo, it's the UN Youth Constituency. Any young person can join any working group, calls, and it's a network about 10,000 youth climate activists. And having a network is so important. There's UNICEF. I find UNICEF incredibly encouraging for young people because they focus so much on children's rights. There's a lot of youth-led groups like Earth Guardians, Climate Cardinals, and even my own organization, DMUN. I pick these organizations because I find that they actually genuinely make space and want young people. They're often run by youth, and you can create some really meaningful change here. But I have four things I think you guys should do for to be a successful advocate. First is to educate yourself. Constantly educate yourself. Read, watch, and listen. Learn what climate change is because I find a lot of the times our schools are not doing a good job. You should investigate how it shows up in your community and how it connects to your everyday life. Second is to figure out why you care and what you care about. What makes you angry, what breaks your heart, but also what gives you hope. What is your why that keep you going? Third, make a plan. I really like lists. It can be really tiny, one issue you care about, what kind of action you want to start. There's a lot of cool advocacy actions like art, education, organizing, and take small steps, but always dream big. You are allowed to take a space. You deserve to be here. Thank you so much for listening to me yap. If you have anything, any questions, please reach out to me. That's a photo of my dog, Kofi. That's my email. If you ever want me to check over anything, email me or simply do a call.
Thank you so much, Lily, for your presentation. I love seeing that there are a lot of questions for you in the chat. So I'd just like to jump into that right now. Let's get it. So first question I'd like to ask you, are there any other countries that you are planning to fight climate change in?
That's a good question. I think my dream is for there to be mandatory climate education in every single country in the world. So, yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, but I always wanted to build like a coalition of young people who are demanding mandatory climate education. So, definitely.
Great. I love seeing that, you're creating a climate curriculum, as young as you are, especially that because that has been a focus at BUEI throughout this past year's climate summit was creating an education curriculum that we are hoping to get passed. So I just want to let you know that your climate curriculum has been like a very big inspiration for the work that we are doing here. And next question, how do your struggles shape who you are today?
Yeah, I think me going through a lot of health complications early on, it reminded me like the very human impacts of climate change. A lot of times it could feel very far away, but then you realize that it's happening right here, right now. It brings a lot of urgency to my work because I'm very lucky to have been able to have healthcare, but a lot of people don't. So it means that we have to create concrete action right now and demand the most.
Okay, definitely. I definitely agree with everything that you are saying. Another question that I am seeing here, how can we influence schooling systems for properly exposing children to the effects of climate change?
Yeah, that's a great question. Bureaucracy, government systems, they're very hard to navigate sometimes. They're not accessible. But I think something that really worked well for us was to like get as many people on board as possible, like members of the public, to show that there is public pressure because these people, they are being elected by the public. So showing that this is an actual voter issue and their seat could be impacted by their decision on it, because I think a lot of people care. You just have to spread the word out. So using things like social media, traditional media have been very, very impactful.
Right, exactly. And just last question, piggybacking off of that one, as you know that your climate curriculum has had like a very strong impact on what we are doing here at BUEI. What advice would you give to the climate curriculum at the Youth Climate Summit?
I think y'all have a great summit going and a really great curriculum. I think the most important thing for me in regards to creating climate curriculum, except especially for younger people, is again making like that point about like playing and learning at the same time, because we don't want to make so many negative associations with like climate change. It is incredibly scary and it's happening right now, but also there are solutions and there is always hope, because without hope, we don't keep moving forwards, we move backwards.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming here and speaking to us today. I love seeing what you're doing. I love seeing what's motivated you and what's got you into the position that you are today. So thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come here and enlighten us with your past and how it's infecting your present.
Thank you so much. I really love being here.
Thank you. Okay, guys, so we just heard from Lily Yang Liu, our youth activist of the day, Justin Wallace, Shari Webb, and Dr. Kishan Kode. And now it is the moment that we have all been waiting for, the moment that we have been building up since the beginning of the summit. It is track selection time. So just a reminder of our 3 different tracks: conservation, sustainability, and climate change, as well as the alumni track. Remember, you can only select this track if you are pre-registered as an alumni. And if you are pre-registered as an alumni, please do not select any other track, only select the alumni track. As an alumni, you are due here at BUEI tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. And now we will give you a few minutes to select your track from the link that is being posted in the chat while we play some music. Hey guys, I hope everyone was able to pick the track that they are interested in over the past 3 days. I hope that we gave you enough information that you were able to know without a doubt that this is the track that you wanted to be involved in. So thank you so much for taking part in our track selection process that you will be involved in during our breakout sessions on Friday. I would just like to introduce today our last Menti poll of the day. The link is being posted in the chat. Again, if you kept this link open from the beginning of the summit, you can just click on that tab and answer the question. In a word or two, what is a talent, interest, passion, or skill that you may have? And you can submit multiple responses, anything that you think that you are good at. I like seeing people say they enjoy dancing, art, football, crochet, video games. Love that. Guitar, technology, public speaking, and debate. Love that. Okay, sailing. I'm seeing a lot of artists here. I love to see that there are a lot of artists who are also obviously engaged in climate change and learning about climate effective policies. And sailing seems to be a lot of sailing. Makes sense from being in Bermuda. A lot of our sailing programs that we have here. Okay, perfect. And I would like to move on to question 2, which is kind of a throwback from our previous sessions, a question that you guys have answered before, which was what climate issues kind of most affect you? Like what matters the most to you? What climate issues matter the most to you? And this is a question that you guys have answered before, so your answers to that question are being displayed upon the screen. Coral bleaching, pollution, deforestation. I know a lot of people were talking about the climate effects that were happening to turtles from one of our subject matter experts' presentations. I'm loving to see that. And then question 3, which is really tying this all in together. How could your passion or talent be used to make a difference on the climate-related topic that's most interest to you? I know a lot of people were saying art, some people were saying video games, public speaking, and debate. So I love just, put in what do you think your passions could help you to kind of combat these climate issues that matter the most to you? And I'll give you a few minutes to type that while there's some music being played. Okay, I am liking seeing that there are some people saying I can create art out of litter and plastic and post it to social media. That's a great way to use your artistic abilities to, spread the news of climate change and spread climate action. I do know that someone put into the word cloud earlier that they liked planting trees. So I love seeing that you can, plant trees, obviously, as a way to combat climate change. From my perspective, you can use your talents to raise money and put it towards the studies and impacts of climate change and coral bleaching. I think that's a great way to come at it. You can use your talents separately and then kind of put it towards those actual actions. Some people said that their talent was social media, so spreading awareness using social media, creating advertisements to put up and raise awareness, making art or posters to spread awareness about climate change. Again, I love seeing that people are using their artistic abilities and making a video about climate change and why it should stop. I love seeing that you guys are, putting 1 and 2 together, seeing how your talents, however abstract that they might be, can really affect climate change and how you can use them to kind of make a dent in what is currently happening here in our world. So thank you so much for taking part in our last Menti poll of our online sessions. And I would just like to thank our environmental showcase partners. Again, these NGOs that are being showed up on the screen can help you to hone in your talents really to reflect climate action, as well as a lot of the comments that you put into the Menti poll there, talking to these NGOs can really help you shape who you are, shape what your talents are meant to be doing with action to climate change and how you can get involved in your climate justice journey. So I would like to thank our environmental showcase partners. Again, these are the people that you will be meeting here tomorrow on site at BUEI. If you will not be here on site at BUEI, please look up these partners online, see what they are doing to help us locally, see what they are doing that will spread internationally eventually, and see how you can get involved with a lot of these NGOs. I also just want to mention again our Saturday action project, which is the YCS initiative Trees for Scores in partnership with Lisa Mutenke's Trees for Goals. Again, the locations are Spittle Pond in Smiths from 8 a.m. to 10:15 a.m., Sherwin Nature Reserve in Warwick from 11:30 to 2 p.m., High Point Nature Reserve in Southampton from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Comfortable shoes and loose clothing are a must, and we will be conducting this activity rain or shine. No matter what, it will be happening. And I just want to move again to thanking our sponsor partners for making this entire experience possible. Thank you so much for supporting us and supporting the youth and the people that are watching this event online, and the people who will be here in person tomorrow. And even those who won't be here, I want to thank the people who won't be on site, our friends from Jamaica and the Bahamas who are tuning in, our friends from Jamaica who were able to present to us today, Justin, Shari, Dr. Kode, and everyone else that is watching from overseas currently. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of our sessions for the past 3 days. I also want to extend a huge thank you to the Youth Climate Summit team who have behind the scenes been truly bringing this experience to life. Thank you for motivating us, everyone here, you know, the alumni who had to present from BUE, myself who had to present from BUEI, to use our voice on this platform. So thank you again to all of these. And, you know, looking ahead to on-site tomorrow and our project tracks on Friday, please come here excited to learn, to meet new people, to really be invested in your groups that you have chosen your action plans and be ready to make a change, to voice that change. Again, all of the presentations that we've been doing over the past 3 days are on the YouTube channel. That link is being pasted into the chat right now. So you can go there, check out what you might have missed, check out what you might want to watch again. If you really liked the presentation and you really want to see it again, you can head to the BUEI YouTube channel and look at that presentation again. Thank you so much to everyone watching. Thank you for giving me the chance to be your host for these past 2 years. It has definitely meant more to me than I can put into words right now. And once again, I have been your host, Leah Jeremy. See you here on site at BUEI tomorrow.